Welcome back to HOA Neighbor Wars. I thought it would be a warning. It was a campaign. Sharon pointed at a property marker and yelled that it was moved and therefore I was guilty. You are not allowed to ignore me. I stood there in my driveway holding my phone with the Surveyor schedule pulled up on the screen, and Sharon Johnson stepped closer with her cheap measuring tape already unspooled in one hand. She was the vendor coordinator for Stonehaven HOA Incorporated, which meant she spent her days threatening contractors and service techs who dared to work in our Milwaukee neighborhood without kissing the ring first. Right now, she was pointing at a steel stake in the dirt next to my fence line and insisting I had moved it to hide a setback violation. My kid brother was inside packing. He was leaving in the morning, and Sharon was trying to tow his car tonight. She tapped the stake with her shoe. That marker was not there last week. It was, I said. The surveyor put it in on Tuesday. Sharon pulled a glove box envelope of certified slips from her jacket pocket and waved it. I have documentation that says you never scheduled a surveyor. You are making up appointments to avoid compliance. I work as an IT support manager from home, which means I have a camera on my front porch and another one covering the side yard. I also keep backups of my email. Sharon did not know that yet. She snapped the tape measure open and stretched it from the fence post to the property line. See this? You are off by 3 inches. That is a setback violation. You can be mad, or you can be compliant. The fence was not off. The survey I had scheduled and paid for 2 weeks ago proved it. But Sharon had been escalating for months, and tonight she was going nuclear because I was hosting a family event tomorrow and she wanted to sabotage it. Stonehaven HOA used amenities lockouts as punishment and leverage, and Sharon had already tried to revoke my pool pass and my guest parking permits. Now she was moving on to towing and forced fence removal. A rideshare driver sat in his car at the curb with his window cracked, waiting for a pickup and rolling his eyes every time Sharon raised her voice. I pulled up the email confirmation from the survey company on my phone and turned the screen toward her. Here is the appointment. Tuesday at 9 in the morning. The surveyor spent 2 hours here. Sharon barely glanced at it. That does not prove anything. Anyone can fake a screenshot. Keep arguing. You are making my case for me. That was the second time she had said that line, and I made a mental note. The first time was 3 weeks ago when I questioned a fine notice she had taped to my mailbox. Now she was saying it again, and I knew it would come back to bite her. A tow truck turned onto our street. Sharon glanced at it and smiled. I stepped toward the fence. You called a tow truck before you even came over here? I called a tow truck because your guest is parked in a spot reserved for compliance hearings. He has 15 minutes to move, or the vehicle gets impounded. My brother was visiting for one night. His car was parked in a guest spot with a valid temporary pass I had printed from the HOA portal. But Sharon did not care about valid passes. She cared about power, and tonight she had a tow truck idling and she was directing the driver like an air traffic controller. The driver climbed out and walked over. Sharon handed him a clipboard with no readable text on the pages. The driver looked at me, then back at Sharon, then shrugged. I need to see the authorization, I said. Sharon tapped the clipboard. This is the authorization. Stonehaven HOA Incorporated has full towing rights on all guest parking. Your pass is invalid because you have an open violation. That was not how it worked, but Sharon made up rules on the fly and dared people to fight her in a hearing where she controlled the process. I had been gathering proof for weeks. HOA records showing selective enforcement and suspicious enforcement fees. I had emails, photos, witness statements, and one piece of evidence Sharon did not know about yet. I let the meeting move on, because my move was not a speech, it was a document. But I was not at a meeting yet. I was standing in my driveway at dusk with a tow truck trying to take my brother's car, and Sharon insisting I was guilty of fence violations I could disprove with a single piece of paper. The tow driver looked at his paperwork again. "Ma'am, I need the vehicle registration or a signed complaint from the property owner." Sharon pointed at the fence. "He is the property owner, and he is in violation. Tow the car." The driver shook his head. "That is not how this works. I need a signed authorization or a police dispatch." Sharon pulled out her phone and started dialing. "Fine. I will get you a police dispatch." I walked back toward my front door. My brother opened it before I got there. "What is going on?" "Sharon is trying to tow your car," I said. "She is pretending you are parked illegally." He looked past me at the tow truck and then at Sharon, who was now on the phone with someone and pacing near the property line. "Is she serious?" "She is always serious," I said. "And she always escalates." That was the thing about Sharon. She did not bluff. If she said she was calling the police, she was calling the police. If she said she was filing a lien, she was filing a lien. And if she said she was going to sabotage my family event, she meant it. I went inside and grabbed the folder I had been building for 2 months. It had copies of every notice Sharon had sent, every email thread with the HOA management company, every photo of my fence showing it was compliant, and the survey report with the official seal. I also had something else. An email from the HOA attorney warning the board to stop targeting me, and a reply chain showing Sharon had ignored the warning and kept escalating anyway. When I walked back outside, a Milwaukee police cruiser was pulling up. Sharon waved at the officer like she was flagging down a cab. The officer stepped out and looked around. "Someone called about a towing dispute?" Sharon pointed at my brother's car. "That vehicle is illegally parked. The owner refuses to move it, and the HOA has full authority to tow." The officer walked over to the car and checked the parking pass on the dashboard. "This pass looks valid to me." Sharon pulled out her envelope of certified slips again. "He has an open compliance violation. The pass is void under HOA rules." The officer turned to me. "Sir, do you live here?" "I do," I said. "That is my guest. He has a valid pass." "She is trying to tow him because she is mad about a fence dispute." The officer looked at Sharon. "Ma'am, is there an actual violation here, or is this a civil HOA matter?" Sharon opened her mouth, then closed it. She knew she had just lost the tow attempt, but she was already pivoting to the next move. She turned to the officer and pointed at my fence. "He installed that fence without HOA approval, and he moved a property marker to hide the setback violation." The officer sighed. "That sounds like a civil matter. If you want to pursue it, you need to go through your HOA process or file in small claims court. I cannot enforce HOA rules." Sharon stared at him. "You are saying you will not do anything?" "I am saying this is not a criminal matter," the officer said. "If he moved a property marker, you can file a complaint with the city. But I am not going to arrest someone over a fence dispute." Sharon turned and walked toward her car without another word. The tow truck driver looked at the officer, shrugged, and climbed back into his truck. The rideshare driver finally got his pickup and pulled away, shaking his head. The officer walked over to me. "Do you have documentation for that fence?" "I do," I said. I handed him the survey report and the building permit. The surveyor confirmed the setback is compliant. The fence is exactly where it is supposed to be. He glanced at the papers and handed them back. "Looks solid to me. If she keeps harassing you, document it and file a complaint with your HOA management company." "I already am," I said. "And I am going to hand you something for the record." I gave him a clean packet of printed emails and notices. "Can I get an incident number?" He wrote one down on a business card and handed it to me. "If this escalates, call us. But try to handle it through your HOA process first." The cruiser pulled away. My brother came outside again. "That was insane." "That was Tuesday," I said. "Wait until you see what she does next." He left the next morning, and I spent the day getting ready for the family event. My parents were driving in that evening, and I had reserved the HOA clubhouse exterior walkway for a small gathering. It was technically a public amenity, but you had to book it through the HOA portal. I had booked it 3 weeks ago, confirmed it twice, and printed the reservation receipt. At 4 in the afternoon, I got an email from the HOA management company. "Your clubhouse reservation has been canceled due to an open compliance violation. Please resolve the violation before rebooking." I called the management company. The receptionist put me on hold for 10 minutes, then transferred me to a compliance coordinator who told me Sharon had flagged my account and placed a hold on all amenity access. "I have a survey proving there is no violation," I said. "I submitted it 2 weeks ago." The coordinator sighed. "I see the survey in your file. But Sharon marked it as disputed, so the hold stays in place until the board reviews it." "When is the next board meeting?" 2 weeks from now." "My event is tonight," I said. "I am sorry, sir. There is nothing I can do until the board reviews the dispute." I hung up and called Sharon directly. She answered on the first ring. "Your reservation is canceled," she said. "You can be mad, or you can be compliant." "I am compliant," I said. "The survey proves it." Sharon laughed. "The survey proves you hired someone to fake numbers. I have a tape measure that says otherwise." I knew then that Sharon was not going to stop until someone forced her to stop. She had already tried to tow my brother's car. She had canceled my clubhouse reservation. And she was about to escalate again, because that was what Sharon did. She escalated until she won, or until someone made her lose. I decided to make her lose. That evening I moved the family gathering to my backyard. It was not ideal, but it worked. My parents arrived and we grilled burgers and pretended everything was fine. But the whole time I was thinking about the next move. Sharon had just committed her first major mistake. She had canceled a valid reservation based on a disputed violation she knew was false. That was selective enforcement, and it was exactly the kind of abuse I needed to prove my case. The next morning, I got another notice. This one was taped to my front door. It was a stop work order for my fence, signed by Sharon, demanding I remove the fence within 7 days or face daily fines of $200. I took a photo of the notice and emailed it to the management company, the HOA board president, and the attorney whose email I had saved. Then I called the community mail carrier who had witnessed Sharon posting notices repeatedly. Her name was Linda, and she had told me 2 weeks ago that Sharon was out of control. Linda answered on the second ring. "I heard about your clubhouse reservation. That was messed up." "It gets worse," I said. "She just posted a stop work order on my door." Linda sighed. "She has been doing this to contractors all month. Last week she tried to ban a landscaping crew because their truck was parked on the street for 20 minutes. "I need a witness," I said. "If this goes to a hearing, can you testify that Sharon has been targeting me?" Linda paused. "I can do better than that. I have photos of her posting notices on your door when you were not home. She did it 3 times last month." I met Linda at a coffee shop that afternoon. She showed me the photos on her phone. In every one, Sharon was standing at my front door with a stack of papers, taping notices to the frame. In 2 of the photos, Sharon was holding her cheap measuring tape like she was about to measure something. "I need copies of these," I said. Linda sent them to my email. "I also have something else. Last week I saw Sharon at the hardware store buying extra gate hinges and a latch kit. She was asking the clerk about fence alignment. Why would she need gate hardware? I asked. Linda shrugged. I do not know. But she paid cash, and she looked like she was planning something. I went home and checked my fence. Everything looked normal at first. But when I opened the gate, it dragged on the ground. The bottom hinge was loose. I knelt down and looked closer. Someone had removed 2 of the screws and replaced them with shorter ones that did not hold the weight. The latch was also misaligned. It looked like someone had tried to sabotage the gate so it would swing wrong. I pulled out my phone and started recording. I demonstrated the clearance on video, showing that the gate used to swing smoothly and now it dragged because the hardware had been tampered with. Then I checked the receipt trail. The hardware store Linda mentioned was 2 miles away. I called them and asked if they kept purchase records. The clerk said they did, but they needed a subpoena or a police report to release them. I filed a police report that evening. The officer who responded was the same one from the tow truck incident. He remembered me. She is escalating, I said. Someone sabotaged my gate hardware, and I have a witness who saw her buying the parts. He wrote down the details and gave me a case number. If you can prove she did it, that is criminal mischief. But you need more than a witness seeing her at a hardware store. I am working on it, I said. The next day, I installed a second camera covering the fence gate. If Sharon came back to finish the job, I would have her on video. She did not come back. But she did send another notice. This one was a formal hearing summons for the following week. The charge was unauthorized fence installation, property marker tampering, and refusal to comply with stop work orders. The proposed penalty was a lien on my property and forced fence removal at my expense. If you are enjoying this chaos, hit the like button and subscribe for more HOA nightmare stories. I knew the hearing was going to be a setup. Sharon would control the room, and the board would rubber stamp whatever she wanted. But I also knew something Sharon did not know. I had an email from the HOA attorney warning the board to stop targeting me. The email was dated 2 weeks before Sharon escalated to the tow truck and the clubhouse cancellation. It said the board was exposing the HOA to legal liability and needed to halt all enforcement actions against me until an independent review was completed. Sharon had ignored the email. The board president had ignored it too. And now they were about to hold a hearing where I could play the email out loud and watch them try to explain why they had violated their own attorney's advice. But I was not going to reveal the email at the hearing. I was going to wait until the showdown at the clubhouse exterior walkway, where people would be arriving and witnesses would be present. I wanted Sharon to commit to her story in front of everyone before I pulled the trapdoor. The week before the hearing, Sharon escalated again. She sent a vendor to my door to verify fence compliance and provoke a reaction. The vendor was a guy in his 20s with a clipboard and a bad attitude. He knocked on my door at 8 in the morning and demanded to inspect my fence. I need to see your authorization, I said. He handed me a work order with Sharon's signature. I am here on behalf of Stonehaven HOA to verify setback compliance. I pulled out my phone and started recording. You can inspect the fence from the street. You are not coming onto my property without a court order. The vendor looked at the camera and stepped back. I am just doing my job. Your job is harassment, I said. Tell Sharon I will see her at the hearing. He left. An hour later, Sharon called me. You just obstructed an HOA compliance inspection. That is another violation. I recorded the inspection, I said. Your vendor refused to provide proof of certification. If you want to inspect my property, get a warrant. Sharon hung up. That evening, I got an email from the tow yard. Apparently, Sharon had escalated the tow attempt from last week into a formal impound claim, and now the tow yard clerk was asking me to prove chain of custody for my brother's car. The whole thing was absurd, but it was also classic Sharon. She never dropped a grudge. She just kept escalating until something stuck. I called the tow yard and explained that the car had never been towed. The clerk apologized and said Sharon had submitted fake paperwork. "Can I get a copy of that paperwork?" I asked. The clerk hesitated. "I can send you a summary, but I cannot release internal documents without a subpoena." "That is fine," I said. "Just send me whatever you can." The summary arrived the next day. It confirmed that Sharon had tried to file a retroactive impound claim for a vehicle that was never towed. It also included her signature and a timestamp showing she had submitted the claim 2 days after the police officer told her the tow was invalid. I added the summary to my evidence folder. At this point, I had enough proof to bury Sharon. Selective enforcement. Fake tow claims. Sabotaged gate hardware. Ignored attorney warnings. And a witness trail that included a mail carrier, a police officer, and a tow yard clerk. The hearing was scheduled for Thursday evening at 6. I arrived 15 minutes early and set up outside the clubhouse exterior walkway. The board meeting was supposed to happen inside, but the weather was nice and people were arriving for a separate community event. I knew Sharon would try to move the hearing inside to control the audience, but I was betting she would confront me outside first. She did. Sharon walked up to the walkway at exactly 6, with the board president and 2 other board members trailing behind her. She saw me standing near the entrance with my folder and my phone, and she stopped. "You are not allowed in the meeting," she said. "This is the hearing location," I said. The notice says Clubhouse Exterior Walkway. Sharon glanced at the board president. The location was changed to the conference room inside. I held up my phone. The notice I received says Clubhouse Exterior Walkway. If you change the location, you need to notify me in writing. Sharon stepped closer. "You are stalling. You know you are guilty, and you are trying to delay the hearing." "I am not delaying anything," I said. "I am here on time at the location you specified. If you want to move it inside, we can do that. But I am recording everything, and I have witnesses." A small crowd was forming. People arriving for the community event slowed down to watch. Linda the mail carrier was there. So was the rideshare driver from the tow truck night, who apparently lived in the neighborhood and recognized me. Sharon looked around and realized she had lost control of the room. She turned back to me. "Fine. We will do the hearing right here." The board president set up a folding table and pulled out a laptop. Sharon sat down and opened her envelope of certified slips. She laid out a stack of notices, photos, and her cheap measuring tape. "We are here to address multiple violations by the homeowner," Sharon said. "Unauthorized fence installation, property marker tampering, and obstruction of compliance inspections." I let her talk. She went through the whole list, showing photos of my fence, pointing at measurements on her tape, and insisting I had moved the property markers. She pulled out her glove box envelope and waved it like it was evidence. "This homeowner has been non-compliant for months," Sharon said. "He hired a fake surveyor to produce fraudulent documents. He obstructed an authorized vendor inspection. And he continues to argue instead of complying." "Keep arguing, you are making my case for me." There it was. The 3rd time she had said that line, and now it was on video in front of witnesses. I opened my folder. "I have documentation that disproves every claim you just made." Sharon smiled. "You mean your fake survey report?" "I mean the real survey report with the official seal," I said. "And the building permit from the city. And the photos showing the fence is compliant. And the email from your own attorney telling the board to stop targeting me." Sharon's smile disappeared. "What email?" I pulled out my phone and opened the recording app. This email. I played the clip out loud so Sharon could not talk over it. The attorney's voice was calm and professional. The board is exposing the HOA to significant legal liability by continuing enforcement actions against this homeowner without an independent review. I strongly advise halting all actions until we can verify the compliance claims. The board president went pale. Sharon stared at me. That email was sent 2 weeks before you escalated to the tow truck, I said. 2 weeks before you canceled my clubhouse reservation. And 2 weeks before you posted a stop work order on my door. You ignored your own attorney, and you kept escalating because you thought you could get away with it. Sharon opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked at the board president, who looked at the other board members, who all looked at the ground. I handed the officer on scene a clean packet of emails, photos, and witness statements. I need an incident number for this. Sharon has been harassing me for months, and I have proof of selective enforcement, fake tow claims, and property damage. The officer took the packet and flipped through it. This is a lot of documentation. It is, I said, because Sharon does not stop until someone makes her stop. Sharon stood up. This is ridiculous. He is the one who violated HOA rules. Ma'am, the officer said, if you have evidence of a violation, you need to present it. But based on what I am seeing here, this looks like targeted harassment. Sharon grabbed her envelope and her tape measure and walked away. The board president stayed at the table. We need to review this, he said. You need to do more than review it, I said. You need to audit the entire compliance process and figure out how Sharon has been abusing it for months. The board president nodded. We will schedule an emergency meeting. The crowd dispersed. Linda walked over and gave me a thumbs up. That was beautiful. It is not over yet, I said. But it is a start. The next week, the HOA hired an independent compliance auditor. The auditor spent 3 days reviewing records and interviewing board members. The report came back with 17 findings of selective enforcement, 12 cases of improper fee assessments, and 6 cases of vendor abuse. Sharon's name was on every single finding. The board held another emergency meeting. This time it was inside, but they streamed it live on the HOA website. The board president read the auditor's summary out loud. Sharon sat in the back row with her arms crossed. When the president finished, he looked at Sharon. Effective immediately, you are removed from the vendor coordinator position. The board will be appointing an interim coordinator while we restructure the compliance process. Sharon stood up. You cannot do this. We just did, the president said. And if you continue to harass homeowners, we will pursue legal action. Sharon walked out. The room was silent. A week later, the HOA sent me a formal letter. All fines and penalties were rescinded. My clubhouse reservation was reinstated with a credit for the canceled event. And the stop work order was withdrawn. But the best part came 2 weeks after that. The hardware store finally released the receipt records under subpoena. Sharon had bought the extra gate hinges and latch kit the day before my gate started dragging. The receipt included her name, her credit card, and a timestamp. The police charged her with criminal mischief, and she pleaded no contest in municipal court. Her credibility collapsed in front of the entire neighborhood. People who had been afraid to challenge her started coming forward with their own stories. The board ended up settling 3 other harassment claims, and Sharon resigned from the HOA entirely. The compliance process was audited and cleaned up. The new coordinator was a retired city inspector who actually knew the rules and applied them evenly. I kept the cheap measuring tape Sharon left behind at the final confrontation. It sits on my desk now as a reminder that documentation beats intimidation every single time. My fence is still standing. The survey is still valid. And Sharon insists it is an easement issue, but the recorded plat disproves it. She tried to claim the whole thing was about property rights and access easements, but when the board pulled the official plat maps from the county recorder, there was no easement anywhere near my fence line. She had made it up, and the third-party compliance report that cleared me completely included a full legal description proving she was wrong. The HOA had to produce records under state law. The hidden emails came out. The board had to admit the enforcement was targeted, and Sharon's reign of terror over contractors, vendors, and homeowners ended the day her own rules came back to bite her. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next HOA story.